The story of Lord Ayyappa begins not on Earth, but in the celestial realms, born from a need to restore cosmic balance. It is a tale that weaves together the powers of two of the most revered deities in the Hindu pantheon, Shiva, the ascetic destroyer, and Vishnu, the preserver. The genesis of this tale lies with a powerful she-buffalo demoness, Mahishi. Consumed by rage over the death of her brother, the demon king Mahishasura, she undertook severe penances to gain a boon from Lord Brahma, the creator. Her wish was for immortality, but when Brahma explained that was impossible, she shrewdly asked for a boon that would make her nearly invincible. She wished that she could only be defeated by a child born from the union of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Mahishi believed she had secured eternal life, for how could two male gods produce a child? Empowered by this boon, she unleashed a reign of terror upon the heavens and the earth, tormenting gods and mortals alike. The devas, or celestial beings, were helpless against her might and fled to the great gods for protection. It was then that Lord Vishnu, the master of illusion and transformation, took on the form of Mohini, an enchantress of unparalleled beauty. Mohini had previously appeared during the churning of the ocean of milk to trick the Asuras, and once again, her divine form was key to saving the cosmos. Lord Shiva, who is famously detached from worldly desires, was captivated by Mohini's divine charm. From their celestial union, a child was born, embodying the combined energies of both preservation and destruction. This divine child was named Hariharaputra, a name that signifies his unique parentage, Hari for Vishnu and Hara for Shiva. He was destined for a great purpose, to bring an end to Mahishi's tyranny and restore Dharma or righteousness to the world. The gods knew that this child needed to be raised on earth, among mortals, to understand their suffering and to fulfill his destiny in the human realm. After his birth, the infant was lovingly adorned with a small bell around his neck, a manikandan, and was then placed on the banks of the Pampa River in the dense forests of the Western Ghats. This was the first step in a divine plan that would unfold over many years, leading to the creation of one of the most significant pilgrimage sites in India. The birth of Ayyappa is a powerful narrative about overcoming seemingly impossible odds through divine collaboration. It illustrates a fundamental concept in Hindu mythology, that the gods will always find a way to intervene when adharma, or unrighteousness, threatens to overwhelm the world. The story sets the stage for a hero who is not just a warrior, but also a symbol of unity, bridging the distinct theological traditions of Shaivism and Vaishnavism. This child, left alone in the wilderness but protected by divine grace, was about to embark on a journey that would transform him into a beloved deity, worshipped by millions as the eternal protector of Sabarimala. The divine child, Hariharaputra, did not remain alone in the forest for long. His destiny was intertwined with that of a mortal king, Rajashekara, the noble and childless ruler of the Pandalam kingdom. The king was a devout follower of Lord Shiva and had long prayed for an heir to his throne. One day, while on a hunting expedition in the forest near the Pampa River, he heard the cry of a baby. Following the sound, he was astonished to find a beautiful infant lying alone, glowing with a divine aura and with a golden bell tied around his neck. The king was puzzled and hesitant, wondering who would leave such a precious child in the dense wilderness, a place teeming with wild animals. As King Rajashekara contemplated what to do, a sage miraculously appeared before him. The holy man revealed that the child was of divine origin, destined for a great purpose, and instructed the king to take him back to the palace and raise him as his own son. The sage advised him to name the boy Manikandan, meaning one with a bell around his neck, in honor of the ornament he wore. Overjoyed at this divine blessing, the king accepted the child with immense gratitude, seeing him as a direct answer to his years of prayer. He carefully carried the infant back to his palace, where the queen and the entire kingdom welcomed the news with great celebration. Manikandan grew up in the Pandalam palace as the crown prince, loved and cherished by his royal parents and the people of the kingdom. He was no ordinary child. He excelled in his studies of the Vedas, the sacred scriptures, and mastered the arts of warfare and statecraft with astonishing speed. His wisdom, compassion, and supernatural abilities were apparent to all, and he was known for his deep sense of justice and his kindness towards all living beings. His guru, or teacher, quickly realized that Manikandan was not a mere mortal, but a divine incarnation, possessing knowledge and skills far beyond his years. The boy was a model prince, embodying all the virtues of a perfect ruler. However, the story took a dramatic turn. A few years after Manikandan's arrival, the queen gave birth to a son of her own, named Rajarajan. As the two princes grew, the king's diwan, or chief minister, grew jealous of Manikandan. The diwan saw the elder, adopted prince as an obstacle to his own ambitions, perhaps hoping to manipulate the younger biological heir for his own gain. He began to poison the queen's mind with lies, planting seeds of doubt and insecurity. He convinced her that if Manikandan, a child of unknown parentage, were to become king, her own son's life would be in danger. The diwan's wicked counsel slowly turned the queen's love for Manikandan into fear and suspicion, setting the stage for a cruel plot against the divine prince. The conspiracy against Manikandan, orchestrated by the manipulative diwan, soon took shape. Following the diwan's sinister advice, the queen pretended to be afflicted by a severe and incurable illness. She writhed in supposed pain, and the palace physicians, who were secretly in league with the diwan, were unable to find a cure. They declared that only one remedy could save her life: the milk of a lactating tigress. This was a seemingly impossible task, a death sentence for anyone who dared to venture into the dangerous forests to confront such a fearsome beast. The diwan proposed this cure knowing that no one would volunteer, hoping that Manikandan, out of his love for his mother, would undertake the perilous quest and never return. As the diwan had predicted, the devoted Manikandan immediately volunteered to go to the forest to fetch the tigress's milk. Despite King Rajashekhara's desperate pleas and attempts to stop him, Manikandan remained resolute. He saw it as his duty or dharma to save his mother, regardless of the personal risk. The king, heartbroken and fearful for his son's life, reluctantly gave his permission, packing a satchel with food and coconuts for the journey, a symbolic act that is still emulated by pilgrims today. Unbeknownst to the plotters, this was not a trap for Manikandan, but a stage for him to reveal his true divine nature to the world. He calmly bid farewell to his family and set out alone for the treacherous wilderness. Once in the forest, Manikandan's divine powers came to the forefront. The wilderness was not a threat to him but his natural domain. The gods, aware of his mission, came to his aid. Lord Shiva appeared before him and revealed the true purpose of his incarnation: to defeat the demoness Mahishi. It was time for his earthly education to end and his divine mission to begin. With the blessings of the gods, Manikandan journeyed deeper into the forest, where he confronted Mahishi. The battle that ensued was fierce and cataclysmic, shaking the very foundations of the earth and heavens. But Mahishi, despite her powerful boon, was no match for the son of Shiva and Vishnu. After a tremendous struggle, Manikandan vanquished Mahishi, freeing the three worlds from her tyranny. Her death was a moment of liberation, not just for the gods, but also for a cursed celestial being who was trapped within the demoness's form. With his primary mission accomplished, Manikandan summoned Lord Indra, the king of the gods. He commanded Indra and the other devas to transform themselves into tigers and tigresses, with Indra himself taking the form of a majestic tigress. Mounting this tigress and leading a formidable pack of others, Manikandan rode back towards the Pandalam palace. The sight of the young prince returning, not with a small container of milk, but with a whole herd of roaring tigers, was a spectacle of divine power that would forever be etched in the memory of the kingdom. The return of Prince Manikandan to the Pandalam palace was a moment of sheer astonishment and terror for those who had plotted against him. As he rode majestically on the back of a tigress, leading a fearsome procession, the entire kingdom was thrown into a state of panic and awe. The queen and the diwan, witnessing this unbelievable sight, were struck with terror and realized their grave mistake. They understood at once that Manikandan was no ordinary mortal, but a divine being. They fell at his feet, begging for forgiveness for their treachery and ignorance. The queen confessed to her feigned illness, her heart filled with remorse for having doubted the son who had shown her nothing but love and devotion. Manikandan, being the embodiment of compassion, forgave them instantly. His earthly mission was now complete. He had fulfilled the purpose for which he was born, the defeat of Mahishi, and had revealed his divine identity to his adoptive family and the world. He explained to his father, King Rajashekara, that his time in the palace had come to an end. He could no longer remain as a prince or an heir to a mortal kingdom, for his true place was as a spiritual guide for all humanity. The king, his heart heavy with a mixture of pride and sorrow, accepted his son's decision. He knew he could not hold back a divine being from his cosmic destiny. King Rajashekara, overwhelmed with devotion, pleaded with Manikandan to allow him to build a temple in his honor, a place where future generations could seek his blessings. Manikandan agreed to this heartfelt request. To decide the location for the temple, he shot an arrow from his bow. He declared that the temple should be built at the very spot where the arrow landed. The arrow flew far into the dense mountainous forests and landed on a hilltop known as Sabarimala. This sacred spot was already significant, as it was the place where a devout ascetic woman named Sabari had met Lord Rama during his exile, and it was in her honor that the hill was named. Manikandan then gave specific instructions for the construction of the temple and the nature of the worship to be conducted there. He explained that he would reside in the temple as a celibate ascetic, a brahmachari, in a state of eternal meditation for the spiritual upliftment of all who came to him. He detailed the arduous pilgrimage that his devotees must undertake to reach him, a journey that would require immense physical and mental discipline. He also laid out the design of the temple, including the sacred 18 steps that would lead to his sanctum. Having laid down these rules, Lord Ayyappa, as he would henceforth be known, blessed the king and all those present before disappearing and merging into his divine form within the temple's site. Following Lord Ayyappa's instructions, King Rajashekara commissioned the construction of the Sabarimala temple. The chosen location, a remote hilltop nestled deep within the Periyar Tiger Reserve in the western Ghats of modern-day Kerala, was, deliberately inaccessible. This was not a temple meant for casual visits. It was a destination for a true spiritual quest. The very act of reaching it was designed to be a part of the worship itself. The temple was built according to the architectural style of Kerala, harmonizing beautifully with its natural surroundings. The king, with the help of the divine architect Vishwakarma, ensured that every detail, from the sanctum sanctorum to the surrounding structures, was built exactly as Ayyappa had envisioned. The Sabarimala temple stands at an altitude of about 1,260 meters above sea level, surrounded by dense forests and steep rolling hills. It is a place of profound natural beauty and spiritual energy. The temple is dedicated to Lord Ayyappa in his form as an eternal celibate, a Naishtika brahmachari, eternally meditating for the welfare of the universe. This aspect of Ayyappa is central to the temple's traditions and the austerities required of its pilgrims. The Sanctum Sanctorum houses the idol of Lord Ayyappa, depicted in a unique yogic posture known as Yogasan, with a bell tied around his right knee. This posture signifies supreme meditation and control over the senses, representing the ultimate state of spiritual realization. One of the most iconic features of the Sabarimala temple is the sacred flight of 18 steps, the Pathinetampadi, leading to the main shrine. These steps are not merely an architectural element, they are honestly imbued with deep symbolism. Each step is believed to represent a different concept, including the 5 senses, the 8 passions, the 3 gunas, qualities of nature, as well as knowledge and ignorance. To climb these steps, a pilgrim must have observed the rigorous 41-day vow and must carry the Irumudi Kettu, a sacred twin-pouched bundle containing offerings like coconuts filled with ghee, on their head. Ascending these steps is considered the final purifying act of the pilgrimage, shedding worldly attachments before entering the divine presence of the Lord. The importance of Sabarimala lies not just in its divine origin story, but also in its role as a great equalizer. It is a place where distinctions of caste, creed, and social status are meant to dissolve. All pilgrims, rich or poor, are addressed as Ayyappa or Swami. signifying that they are all one and the same in their devotion. The arduous journey through the forest, the shared rituals, and the collective chanting of Swami Saranam Ayyappa, "O Swami, I seek refuge in you, Ayyappa," foster a powerful sense of brotherhood and unity. The temple itself is open only for specific periods, primarily during the Mandalam season, which is from mid-November to late December, and for the Makaravilakku festival in mid-January, making the pilgrimage a special and highly anticipated event. The pilgrimage to Sabarimala is not merely a physical journey, it is an intense spiritual discipline that begins long before the devotee sets foot on the forest path. At the heart of this preparation is the Vratham, a mandatory 41-day period of austerity and self-control. This vow is a crucial prerequisite for any pilgrim wishing to undertake the journey and climb the sacred 18 steps. The Vratham officially begins with the wearing of a special beaded chain, usually made of tulsi or holy basil or rudraksha beads, which is worn after a simple ceremony led by a Guruswami. That's a veteran pilgrim who has completed the pilgrimage many times. This act signifies the devotee's commitment to a life of purity and devotion for the duration of the vow. During these 41 days, the devotee is expected to live like an ascetic, detaching from worldly pleasures and focusing the mind on Lord Ayyappa. This involves following a strict code of conduct. A primary rule is the practice of celibacy or brahmacharya, which is seen as essential for conserving spiritual energy and maintaining purity of thought, word, and deed. The pilgrim must also adhere to a simple vegetarian diet, avoiding all meat, fish, and eggs. Many devotees eat only once or twice a day. Furthermore, they must abstain from alcohol, tobacco, and the use of foul language. The goal is to purify the body and mind, making them fitting vessels to receive the Lord's grace. The dress code during the Vratham is also highly significant. Pilgrims traditionally wear simple black, dark blue, or saffron-colored clothes. This uniformity serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it symbolizes the renunciation of worldly vanity and ego, as everyone dresses in the same simple manner, erasing visual markers of wealth or social standing. Secondly, the dark colors are practical for the arduous trek through the forest and are believed to offer protection from wild animals. Devotees also stop cutting their hair and nails and often walk barefoot as much as possible, as a sign of humility and endurance. This entire process is a form of tapasya, or penance, designed to build mental fortitude and spiritual readiness. Throughout the 41-day period, the pilgrim's life is centered around prayer and devotion. They are expected to visit local temples regularly, participate in bhajans or devotional singing, and engage in acts of charity. The common greeting among devotees is Swami Saranam, a constant reminder of their ultimate goal and their surrender to the divine. This period of intense discipline is not seen as a hardship, but as a transformative process. It is a time to cleanse oneself of negative habits and thoughts, to cultivate humility and compassion, and to build a deep, personal connection with Lord Ayyappa. The Vratham ensures that by the time the devotee begins the physical trek, they are already well advanced on their spiritual journey. After completing the rigorous 41-day Vratham, the devotee is ready to embark on the physical pilgrimage to Sabarimala. The journey traditionally begins from the town of Erumeli, a place significant in the Ayyappa legend as the site where he organized his army to fight Mahishi. Here, pilgrims perform a ritual dance called Petta Thulal, reenacting Ayyappa's victory. They paint their faces with colors and dance with mock weapons, symbolizing the shedding of their ego before proceeding. From Erumeli, the most traditional and challenging route is the 45-kilometer trek through dense forests and mountains. This path is arduous, testing the physical endurance and mental resolve of every pilgrim. The trek is punctuated by several key stops, each with its own spiritual significance. The Pampa River is one of the most sacred locations on the route. Pilgrims take a holy dip in its waters, believing it to be as purifying as a dip in the Ganges. The Pampa is considered the place where Manikandan was found as an infant, and it is here that devotees perform ancestral rites and offer prayers before beginning the final steep ascent to the temple. Carrying the Irumudi Ketu, the two-sectioned cloth bag containing offerings on their heads, They begin the climb up the hill known as Nilimala. The chant of Swamiya Saranam Ayyappa echoes through the hills, providing strength and encouragement to the weary travelers. As the pilgrims get closer to the Sannidhanam, or the temple complex, the anticipation builds. A major highlight of the pilgrimage season is the Makara Jyothi, a celestial star that appears in the sky on the day of Makar Sankranti, around January 14th. This is followed by the Makara Vilaku, a light that flickers on a distant hill, believed to be a divine sign of the gods celebrating Ayyappa's presence. Witnessing this event is considered immensely auspicious and draws millions of devotees. The culmination of the trek is the arrival at the Pathinettam Padi, the 18 sacred steps. Only those who have observed the Vratham and carry the Irumudi are permitted to ascend these steps into the presence of the Lord. Climbing the 18 steps is a moment of profound spiritual fulfillment. At the top, the pilgrim finally stands before the Sanctum Sanctorum and beholds the idol of Lord Ayyappa. They break the ghee-filled coconut from their Irumudi, an act symbolizing the breaking of the ego and the merging of the individual soul, or Jivatma, with the universal soul, or Paramatma. The ghee is then used for Abhishekam, the ritual anointing of the idol. After receiving prasadam, or blessed offerings, the devotee's journey is complete. The return journey is one of quiet contemplation, carrying the grace and blessings of the Lord back into their daily lives, spiritually renewed and transformed by the experience. The Sabarimala temple has long held a unique tradition regarding the entry of women. Historically, the pilgrimage was open to men of all ages and to women who were either below the age of 10 or above the age of 50. The exclusion of women in the menstrual age group, typically considered to be 10 to 50 years, was based on the belief that the temple's presiding deity, Lord Ayyappa, is a Naishtika brahmachari, an eternal celibate who has taken a vow of asceticism. The presence of women of reproductive age was considered a disturbance to his meditative state. This tradition was deeply ingrained in the temple's rituals and was respected by the community of devotees for centuries as an integral part of the deity's specific form of worship. This long-standing custom was not seen by devotees as a discriminatory practice against women in general, but rather as a rule specific to the unique nature of the deity at Sabarimala. They point out that women are revered and welcomed in thousands of other Hindu temples across India, including many dedicated to female goddesses. The restriction at Sabarimala was viewed as being about respecting the celibate nature of this particular form of Ayyappa. For generations, this was largely an accepted practice, with many women in the restricted age group choosing to honor the tradition by waiting until they were past 50 to make the pilgrimage, which they would then do with great devotion. However, in recent decades, this tradition became the subject of a fierce public and legal debate. The issue was framed as a conflict between religious freedom and the constitutional right to equality. Women's rights activists and other groups argued that barring women from entering a public place of worship was a form of gender discrimination and a violation of their fundamental rights. They challenged the practice in court, leading to a prolonged legal battle that captured national attention. The case brought to the forefront complex questions about where the state's authority ends and where religious autonomy begins, sparking intense discussions across Indian society. The debate culminated in a landmark verdict on September 28, 2018. The Supreme Court of India ruled that the practice of excluding women of a certain age group from the Sabarimala temple was unconstitutional. The court declared that devotion could not be subjected to gender discrimination and that all women, regardless of age, had the right to enter the temple. The judgment was met with a deeply divided response. While women's rights groups and secularists celebrated it as a victory for equality, it triggered massive protests from a large section of Ayyappa devotees and conservative groups who saw it as a direct assault on their religious traditions and the sanctity of their deity. The aftermath of the ruling has been marked by tension and conflict, with the issue of faith versus law remaining a sensitive and unresolved matter for many. The story and pilgrimage of Lord Ayyappa are steeped in profound symbolism, offering deep philosophical insights to those who look beyond the rituals. At its very core, the Ayyappa narrative is a powerful symbol of unity. His birth as Hariharaputra, the son of both Shiva, or Hara, and Vishnu, or Hari, represents the harmonious blending of two major and sometimes competing sects within Hinduism, Shaivism, and Vaishnavism. This syncretism sends a message that different paths of worship ultimately lead to the same divine reality. Ayyappa embodies the idea that the perceived dualities of the universe, such as preservation and destruction, can be reconciled into a single cohesive whole. This theme of unity extends to the pilgrims themselves. The Sabarimala pilgrimage is renowned for its ability to dissolve social barriers. During the 41-day Vratham and the subsequent trek, all devotees are addressed simply as Swami or Ayyappa. This practice erases distinctions of caste, wealth, and social status, fostering a powerful sense of brotherhood and equality. A millionaire from a big city walks side by side with a humble farmer from a remote village, both sharing the same food, enduring the same hardships, and chanting the same holy name. This collective experience creates a community bound not by worldly identities, but by shared faith and a common spiritual goal. It is a living demonstration of the Vedantic principle of seeing the divine in everyone. The ultimate spiritual message of Sabarimala is encapsulated in the Mahavakya, or great saying, inscribed at the temple Tat Tivam Asi. This Sanskrit phrase translates to that thou art or you are that. It is a cornerstone of Advaita Vedanta philosophy, signifying that the individual soul or Atman is not different from the ultimate reality or the universal consciousness Brahman. The entire pilgrimage is designed as a practical journey to realize this truth. The austerities of the Vratam are meant to purify the self. The arduous trek is meant to strip away the ego. And the final darshan, or sighting, of Lord Ayyappa, is the moment of recognition that the divine sought outside is, in fact, within oneself. The purpose of the demanding rituals and the difficult journey is to prepare the devotee for this profound realization. The physical and mental discipline helps to quiet the mind and open the heart to a deeper understanding. The breaking of the coconut before the deity is a potent symbol of this process. The hard outer shell represents the physical body and ego, while the pure white kernel inside represents the soul, which is offered to be merged with the divine. The pilgrimage, therefore, is not just about visiting a holy place. It is a meticulously designed spiritual curriculum aimed at self-transformation and the ultimate attainment of self-realization, understanding the timeless truth that you are that.